Hello all, it's Vanessa Love. This is my channel about the healthcare field, therapy field, and mental health in general. Alright, so I have a couple of things I want to talk about. So first I wanted to talk about essential oils and multi-level marketing, especially how it relates to therapists. Alright, so I have a lot of different types of friends and colleagues, and so a couple of my friends and colleagues are people who do massage therapy, and like, people always use essential oils in that sense, sometimes just to relax, the client, or just as something that they want to, do. I think sometimes they also put in the lotion, and you can find different lotion, or like the people who are massage therapists find different lotions that are really great. Alright, so I did go and receive Reiki from one of my colleagues. Now this is probably like a year and a half ago, and so I noticed that she had doTERRA, and she had a lot of the little tiny, like, small bottles, like samples for doTERRA, and that was a little bit, I just don't agree. I think also either doTERRA or Young Living, they sometimes, like, the people who sell them call themselves like health advocates or something like that, which it's not true. They also do a lot of things that I'm like, don't do that. Things like, if, big if, an essential oil says that it's edible, then it's edible. Otherwise, don't assume that it's edible. What I know about essential oils is that if you really like a particular type of essential oil, or something like tea tree oil, which might, help with, what is that, like antifungal, antibacterial, like, and you want to kind of like involve that in your life, that might be something to do, right? But it doesn't, like, you have to have a carrier lotion. That's what I've always heard. Like, you have to have a carrier lotion if you want it to work. You don't just put it onto your skin, because something like tea tree oil can, while it can be very helpful, can also be very bad for your skin, especially if it's put directly on there. So essential oils, like, it's not great. Like, let me rip out this page, because it's going to bother me if I feel like there's like other notes in here that I don't want you guys to see. Okay, anyway. So, yeah, that the essential oils is a big thing. A lot of people, they don't know how to use them. I've watched videos on here about people developing bad rashes, like an immune reaction to them. Like, it can be very dangerous to have them. Like, yeah. Like, and not know how to use them. And I think one of the people, she was like, oh yeah, I just cooked with it all the time, and like I had this reaction, and I kept on having a reaction, and I had this reaction for 6 months, and then I had like this big problem, like, with my immune system. And I'm like, yeah, that would happen, and yeah, that is a big issue. As I said, doTERRA and Young Living, one of them says that they're like a, what do they call themselves, like health advocate, which I'm like, it doesn't mean anything, first of all. And if you've watched anything about the multi-level marketing, like, or social marketing and all of that stuff, like, you'll know that, like, the companies set the standard for what it means to be, therapeutic grade, oils, and it just means that it actually came from the plant. It doesn't mean anything else, and they can change that at any time. So, like, that's not, like, one of my clients tried to pull that on me. She's like, no, but, like, it comes exclusively. I'm like, no, it doesn't. And so, like, I worry about the therapists who are into, like, the young, like, to either one, into the MLMs, because, like, I don't agree with them to begin with. Like, I don't think that they're, like, better than the other ones. I don't think that they should cost that much, and, like, it's a big deal. it is also, in my opinion, a ethical violation if that therapist tries to recruit their clients as, you know, their downline. That is, luckily I haven't heard of many therapists doing that. I know there are therapists who do use the essential oils from these MLMs. I don't agree with that, but I haven't heard of anyone like trying. Actually, no, I have. I've read enough. It has been a thing. That scares me. I think that, like, in therapy, you have to keep a lot of things separate. So, like, I do coaching, but the coaching business and where the money goes for coaching is not my business account for my therapy. Because if anyone finds out that that money went right into my therapy account, they're like, oh yeah, well, you must have been doing therapy then. And I do not want to be accused of that. That is not my thing. I'm gonna do another video about like being a, you know, a business person, and how many accounts you should have, and like from what I've read and understand, I have 6 accounts. Like, just, we'll leave it at that. But like, so like I don't have to have the coaching income come to my counseling business account, because they need to be separate. And everything that I have read about that stuff is it has to be separate. It has to be separate. It has to be separate. And if you also don't know, I have a tea company too. That doesn't go into goes into one of my savings accounts. That doesn't go into my counseling or coaching account either, because like it's a totally separate thing, and I do not push that on any of my clients. Unfortunately, it has taken up my office, but just this little spot, because like it's not gonna overrun my office anyway. So, I do worry about that stuff. I mean, therapists do other things too, like they'll, you know, write books, they'll create CDs, you know, all of these other things. And like you might be able to like buy those on like the therapist website, but I don't think that it's a good idea to also have, you know, multi-level marketing things on websites. On the therapy websites. I know a couple of people who do soaps randomly, like therapists who like just make their own soaps, and they know that it has to be a very separate thing, and they do keep it separate as far as I can tell. Okay, so one of the things is that about me is that my dad has ran his own business for the last it's almost 50 years. It's almost 50, like it's 45 years at least. It's almost 50 years. So, he has ran his own business for 45 years. So I know a lot about like buying wholesale, which you probably don't even know if you've ever bought wholesale, but if you've gone to like a Costco or a BJ's, you might have bought a little bit, like, you know, you get that little bit of discount because they want you to use those things industrially. Like, they want you to use those things like as a business thing. It's close to buying wholesale. Most people who buy wholesale, unfortunately, buy from China. It's a thing. But I do believe in the power of that, right? Because like you buy your own, you know, can get your own labels on there. And it's, for me, it's easier than ever to actually do it. I have looked into having my own tea brands and all of that, but because I don't have a warehouse and I don't have a separate, like, you know, office for just all of the tea that I would have to buy in order to meet the minimum, I don't yet. However, for the people who I know are interested in essential oils, you can look up essential oil like wholesalers, and if you want a private label, like your own label, you can see which ones have private labels available. And you know, like you don't have to buy from doTERRA, you don't have to buy from Young Living. You can definitely like invest in yourself if you want to, and you know, look for those things on your own. I firmly believe in this. It is just, I think it's the way that the world is ran, you know. And it's so funny when people find out that you can buy wholesale, because they'll be like, you know, like if you buy blah, 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 you know, you get a discount, and you know, you could just buy them for cheaper. I'm like, yeah, you can buy them for cheaper, but like for tea, the minimum like usually the minimum requirement for a couple of the companies I've talked to is 3,000 boxes. 3,000 boxes of tea. Like, I don't mind buying like 4 or 5 pounds. Like, that's here, you know. But like 3,000 boxes of tea with, like, you know, the tea bags in there and all of that. And like, luckily when you do buy from these places, you can look in, like, you can either like go there and tour the factory, or you can just see pictures of the factory if you want to believe that what they put on the internet is real. And you can always check their business licenses, their addresses, all of that stuff. Like, you know, really, if you want to go deep into that, you know, for me, I'm like, definitely worth it. Go look at it. But like 3,000 boxes of tea is a bit much. I know that I've looked at a couple of places that offer them by the gram, I think, or kilogram. So, like, there's a lot of decisions to be made, but you know, like, I'm just trying to compare it to like a tea thing, and like, yeah, you know, the minimum, I think, if you buy, yeah, I think it's like 50 cents a box if you buy the 3,000, but like, it's quite a bit of money at the onset, and hopefully it sells. But I think, like, if you use the same principles that you use with like essential oils, you can definitely go and like sell as much. And you know, if you can find the scents that you like, or if you want to mix your own scents, you know, you have that option. Like, it's not off the table, which I think is amazing. So yeah, that's my little spiel. Like, I am very suspect of anyone who gets roped into that, because I'm like, that doesn't seem like that should go together, and that seems like that might be exploitive. I mean, I just finished reading The Gift of Therapy by Irving Yalom. Yalom has written a lot of great books, actually. I want to read Love's Executioner next, but I also have had to read Group Practices and Dynamics, which is also a Yalom book. It's a group. I know it's a group book. I can't remember. It's like thousands of pages, by the way. And it just talks about all the different types of groups and what you can and can't say, and like, it's very, very interesting as a therapist anyway. Yeah, I'm like, and actually, like, being away from groups, I am actually a really good group therapist. I just, you know, it wasn't my preference at the time that I started private practice and all of that stuff. The other thing that I want to talk about, I'm like, oof, I wonder if I should just make this into 2 videos. No, I don't feel like I have much to say about this. All right. Therapists know when you come to us just for letters. Like, it's why a lot of therapists will professionally kind of tell other therapists that we don't take court cases. Also, court cases can require a lot more than just what it appears from the outside. I have taken on court cases. I hopefully have been trained well enough that I don't have to go into court. I have been called into court once. I was never paid for that. It was a whole ordeal. But luckily they settled it somehow, and it was not great. And that was like the first year that I was in private practice. It actually hasn't happened since. I've been threatened a couple of times, but I also have a contract, and when anyone says, like, you know, I'm gonna sue you, I'm like, well, did you look at your contracts? And usually that kind of stops them right there, because like what I'm asking was in the contract anyway. I'm not like being excessive or exorbitant or anything like that. So we know. The other thing that we know, and is going to be a very big issue and has been, is the difference between an emotional support animal and a trained service animal. So did you hear the difference there? An emotional support animal compared to a trained service animal? Okay. So I think the first year, again, one of those first year stories, the first year that I was in therapy, or in therapy practice, I got a call, frantic. It was a court case. This woman was like, could you just write us a note that says that, like, our animal was very therapeutic to us? I'm like, I can write a generic note for, like, you know, some money, that says that, you know, a study prove over and over again that, you know, animals can be emotional support. They can be like a family member, but I can't speak to your case personally because I've never talked to you in my life. But, like, you know, even then, like, yeah. So there's a lot of issue with this, and it is one of the things that therapists do struggle with, because how do you tell the difference? I've been put in a situation that was crappy and that I probably would not, like, write a letter again for this. The situation was similar to, family bought a dog, gave it to the college kid, and was like, if you don't get an ESA letter, an emotional support animal letter, for college, we're just going to have to give the dog away. First of all, how do you do that to, like, a 19, 20-year-old? That's who doesn't know, who hasn't had animals and who doesn't know how to train them. Like, if it were me, I've had dogs since I was, like, really young, so I'm like, oh, you know, like, you do a lot of different training. I probably look on YouTube to, you know, just make sure I understand what I'm doing, but, like, you have to know how to train animals in order to be in this situation, and clearly this family did not know that. And so it was like, I'm writing this letter, and whenever I write letters like this, I try to just patient reports or client reports, whichever one, patient reports that they feel emotionally attached to animal. Patient reported the animal helped them through a difficult time. You know, like, you know, and if anyone is with a keen eye is looking at that, like, they know that I'm not saying it. I'm not giving my professional opinion here. I'm just like patient reports. But there are people in situations where I totally agree with, you know, having that ESA letter, especially in severe trauma. Like, I have a couple of clients that, like, they're amazing people. They're wonderful. Like, I love being here with them and, like, supporting them and all of that stuff. And if they didn't have their animals, they would absolutely not be where they are. Like, just in general. I have a client who has lived on the streets. They don't mind going back to the streets, but because of their animals, they're like, I gotta give my animals the best treatment. And so they keep a house over their head. They, you know, make sure that, like, they can eat crackers all day, but, you know, make sure that their animals do have, you know, food and all of that stuff. Like, I really truly believe that there is, like, a very, like, good part, that these animals are doing. But, you know, yeah, you get into situations like that and it's like, okay, maybe your family shouldn't have gotten you a dog. Maybe they should have trained you or got, you know, like, this was one of, like, kind of the well-to-do family, so I'm like, gotten someone to teach you how to train, or, like, had the dog trained, and then, you know, you could learn how the dog, like what commands the dog will do and all of that stuff. But you also have to follow up with that, like, you know, it's a whole thing. I'm very sensitive to dog training, and so, like, I lived in a house that had very well-trained dogs. And I wouldn't have lived there had they been jumping all over me all the time. Like, I'm just, there's something about coming home where I just need to be like, instead of, like, being like, hey, stop, no, stop. It stresses me out too much. So, like, and also all of the animals in that house knew how to eat off forks, which I I mean, that's amazing. I loved that. And I do mean animals. She did have a pig, and I loved that pig, and my friends loved that pig, and that pig would eat off a fork. So, animals can be trained, like, and that roommate, you know, she has so much love for animals, and so much that, like, she can just really, like, they are so therapeutic for her, and it's absolutely amazing. I really do, you know, it's one of those things where I'm like, absolutely, like, if she was a client and was like, I need a letter, I'd be like, I'm gonna get you a letter. But, like, yeah, there's plenty of other people that I'm like, so you just want a letter for what, you know? And I also had, like, I know that I had someone, like, hit me up, like, after a year or two of being out of therapy, and they're like, you know my dog. I've met your dog once. Which you weren't supposed to bring them to the office, but okay. And they brought the dog. They wanted to go on a trip and wanted me to write a letter, and so I wrote a letter, but I made it clear that this person had not been in counseling for quite some time, and, you know, like patient reported that it's an emotional support animal. I'm like, they could probably leave that animal home. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You know, just had to write some words, you know, like, and it's unfortunate because I'm like, I don't know, I really did only meet the dog once. I like, that's one, like, and it was a breed that I wasn't familiar with. If it was a breed I was familiar with, then I might be able to be like, oh yeah, that, like, looked healthy and great. Not a breed I was familiar with, so it's not like I can, like, look at their gums and be like, oh, they're treating you just fine, or you need more food, or whatever. Not my job. Also, I can't be a vet. So yeah, I mean, like, it happens. It's definitely one of those areas that I'm like, yeah, you know, and then someone like this college person, you know, has this animal and is, like, stressing them out with not training them, having them around all these people at, you know, at college now, again, not trained, and, you know, like, they're an emotional support animal, so they're basically a pet, but, like, also, like, taking away from the people who do have trained service animals, and trained service animals are, you know, expensive. They're not pets. They're, like, you know, you're not supposed to touch them. Like, it's a whole thing. And, like, it amazes me that people don't know that, like, when a blind person has a trained support, like, a trained animal, a trained service animal, you should not be petting it. Like, there's some times where I'm just like, how many times do I have to tell you a lot, like, about how, like, you shouldn't be doing this? Anyway, I hope that was helpful. Yeah, I hope that was helpful, and I hope everyone has a great holiday, and I will talk with you guys soon. All right. Oh, I'm also working on a Patreon. It's a whole thing. Like, I do have coaching available if you're interested in coaching. I also have it set up so that if you have just a question about therapy or art therapy, that you can go on the Patreon, get that, you know, level, and then ask your question or whatever. It doesn't happen too often, but I do get enough people who, like, want questions answered that I feel like Patreon is definitely the way to move over for that. Anyway, I will talk with you guys soon, and hopefully I'll have the link for Patreon below. Alright, talk to you later. Have a great one.